on to our week. And the week has begun and ended the same in turmoil. The Tories are toast, we keep being told, but they keep popping up from the toaster, don't they, and trying it on. I mean, you're in Toryland. How's it going there?
No, we're not. For the first time in 100 years, we're now Labour. Our community. We had the wonderful Nadine Dorries who
that's right,
who ruined it for the Conservatives. So
yes.
absolutely. And now, but we've got this. I mean, I've met him. He's a baby. I mean, he's 34 years old. What does he know about life? I've met him, and I just think he's younger than my boys, and my boys are perfectly intelligent. But I do think they haven't been around the block a lot, have they?
No, they've not got the mileage.
They haven't got a lot, and I'm not wishing to be rude, but life and all it entails sort of doesn't really hit you until you're in your 50s, does it?
No, and what you said then is quite inside you, actually, because all the splits in the Tory party are caused by the middle. And the middle is this woke group of Tories.
Yes.
And it's horrendous.
Yeah. And it is splitting it apart. It's ripping it apart. I mean, it really is. And but when you look back at some of the commentaries over the 13 years, I mean, I've been Tory all my life because I will never forget the winter of discontent when we had the 4-day week. I was about 16, 17 years old then, so bad that you had the times when you would have electricity. And I can remember sitting for hours with candlelight and paraffin lanterns in the bank I worked because there was I don't know what you do today because nothing was as mechanized as it is now, but rubbish on the streets for weeks, post boxes sealed up. People have no idea. They have no idea what it was like. And from that moment on, I never voted Labour again. And I'm not going to vote Labour this time, and I'm not going to vote Tory either, but because I don't trust Labour. I don't trust Keir Starmer. I don't think they've got any policies. And this young lad, I say he's a baby. I mean, I think he's just hatched. And I just thought, well, you're going to go, people are going in there to see him with, real life problems that I don't suppose, I mean, maybe he's very good. I don't know. I'll give him a chance. But I have spoken to a lot of my friends who are Tory and they are going to vote Reform.
That's interesting. It's they've got every chance of getting a presence anyway. Under PR, of course, they get a big presence.
Yeah.
Under our present electoral system, it's not going to be brilliant.
No, we need representation. You can't. No, you've got to go some to get your feet under the table, haven't you, with our voting system?
Well, it's up for grabs. Listen, it's still Toryland. You are. They won't stay that way very, very much longer with Labour. Schools in the southeast of England, which is supposed to be the posh area, it's imploding because pupils are not behaving themselves. In fact, 1 in 20 are being suspended. Now, if it's like that in the southeast, Marilyn, what's it like up north?
I don't see any difference. I go all over the country and it's as bad everywhere. I mean, a lot of these children now are feral. And again, it's the lack of discipline. It's also the lack of discipline in parenting. Also, I do think social media has an awful lot to do with it. The influence of Andrew Tate cannot be understated. You've got the boys strutting around schools, being offensive to the girls. The girls are taking it. They're not fighting back. You've got teachers that don't, are frightened, I think, of parents. I think that's what it is. They're terrified of being complained about. It doesn't bother me. I go in there, I'll just say what I say. Honestly, Rodney, if I was teaching today, I would be suspended because I would not toe that party line of, it's so kind to everybody to be woke. No, it isn't. It's ruining society. You've also got the children they shouldn't have their blooming phones in school. What do they need a phone in school for? And then you've got them watching pornography, all of this awful behavior, this antisocial, sexualized behavior as well, is more than half the problem.
Well, let me tell you what the thinking class, if there is such an animal, are saying. There's no respect in schools.
No, there's no respect.
No respect for teachers.
No.
the children have lost it. Now, some people are saying, the think tanks, the children are less resilient. What do they mean by that?
Well, yeah, they're flip-floppy, aren't they? You know what I
They're
mean? They've
more
got
woke, they're less resilient.
well, yes. I mean, and it does also go back to parenting. I think we have too many parents. I mean, it's wonderful that parents care for their children, but there's a point where you cannot keep being what I would call, as I did as a teacher, a helicopter parent. So you're always hovering over them. They can't fall, they can't fail. You know, it's all poor little Johnny. He can't do this. He can't, you know, no one has said, you know, get up and get on with it. Grow a spine and get on with it. It's all, they get away with too much. I don't think it's helped over the last 2 years banging on about teenagers today with their mental health.
You just touched on the other excuse. The schools are full of mental health children. Are they any more than they used to be?
No, I just think just shut up and get on with it. Don't keep giving it. There will be children that have issues, and that is probably going back to, you can't blame everything on COVID. Yes, there will be some issues from it, but you know, it still goes back. Resilience can be taught to a child. It can be taught to an adult. It's about having that constant strength, that person in your life that you can lean on, and they're not going to judge you. You can talk to them. They can encourage you to do something you might be a little bit about, you know, and getting off your backside and making your own life better. So when you look at some of the young boys, I mean, I am not a boy, obviously, but puberty is a very difficult time, I think, for boys. I've never had a brother, but having been in schools and talked to my own boys and seen them grow up between the ages of 13 and 14, it's, you know, you're pimply, you're gangly, you've got acne, you know, all that stuff. And you might look at other boys and think, well, oh God, you know, he's a knockout, he's going to pull the birds, you know, and the girls might think, you know, I've got no boobs or whatever, you know, oh, I'm not very, you know. So what do they do about it? What's happening is they're now blaming, the boys are blaming the girls. That's why they're going into Andrew Tate. It's women's fault, you know. Go to a workout, get yourself fit, go to the gym, study, read things, make yourself grow with your intellect, and stop slobbing about on your phone doing useless things on social media.
Yeah, well,
it makes you grow as a person.
It's a bit, as we say in Spain, la moda, the fashion. I remember dyslexia, and that was the fashion and still is. Two of our little ones got hold of Lisdexia. We used to call it that. You've got to be careful when we treat the kids, how you treat the kids, and don't push it too far. But we always used to call it Lisdexia. We had some great times putting words back to front, just as they did. But they both finished up because it turns out that they're more intelligent than the average child. If you've got dyslexia,
it's like autism.
You wish it's on the spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you're right. People are on the spectrum do tend to have a bit of not lack of empathy, but not totally understand how relationships work. Yeah. But you know, Bobby, my grandson, I mean, he does get, like they do, obsessed about something. So it was trains, knew everything about trains. Then it was planes. Yeah. Now it's rivers. That boy knows every single river and capital across Europe. Then he'll move on from that. He's only 7.
Yes.
But they are extraordinarily clever. You know.
Well, if you've got dyslexia, don't worry, folks. Both our lads are running multi-million-pound companies. So
yeah, but
it's probably to their advantage.
You don't have to roll over and die because you've taken a stomach punch. You know, it's how you roll with the punch, isn't it? You know, are you going to sit there and go, oh, woe is me, poor me, I'm going down the garden to eat worms? Or are you going to say, oh, get off your backside, do something with your life, you know, make some decisions that don't make it your overcoat as an excuse for not being successful.
Unless you want £10 million, because that's what the government have put into the South East alone to try and help the misbehaving little ones. Money is not the answer.
That's not the answer. It's just putting another plaster on it. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are quite a lot of schools in Kent that have taken in an awful lot of the migrants. Yeah. And there's language issues, there's culture issues. There are just more issues in society today as well. You've got oh my goodness, like if you go across the southeast Kent, county lines, the drugs, kids involved in that. It's horrendous. You've got to look at what is causing the behaviours.
Well, come on then, let's get down to the root.
Well, a lot of it does
families.
It does go down to the early years. You cannot wipe out and disregard the powerful impact of your first 3 years of a child's life. You know, empathy is formed by the time a child is 1. And that depends on how that child has been treated. It even depends, like resilience is like, it's how those parents are being with you. Are you being balanced? Are you just neurotic every time they fall over? Or, you know, are you like picking them up all the time? I don't mean physically picking them up, but doing things for them. And I used to say to my kids, you know, if your lunch today, if you forget your lunchbox, I'm not coming to the school. You'll have to go hungry. You know, it's teaching them accountability. You know, even when I had 3 boys with asthma, I used to say, you know, it's your asthma, own it. You have got to be responsible. You need to remember your inhalers. I'm not always going to be around. And it's things like, I can remember when my eldest son, he wanted to play football on a Saturday. He was 9, 10 years old. And I said, okay, fine. I will take you. I will watch you, but you're going to set your alarm. I'm not going to come and shake you.
Well, there's something interesting about this. I've just finished reading a very long article about woke and how up until very recently, we used to treat it as a bit of a joke, or it didn't exist. Boy, it exists. It's cultural Marxism. It's ruined society, and many people are saying now, can we actually get it back? Because everybody else's fault except yours can sum it up as well.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what it's the parenting though of making your children accountable, making them respect their own life and respect you, respecting their belongings. Even when they're little, I used to say to my children, you know, as much as they were able, clear your toys up at the end of the day. And if they had a friend come round to play and all the Lego came out, I would always factor in that their friend had to tidy up as well. I have 4 kids under 5. I wasn't going to do it all. They had to become accountable for their lives within the bandwidth of what they were able to do. So, you know, when my son wants to play the football, I said, I will show you how to clean your football boots. And then you're doing it. You want to play football, it's not just about playing it, it's all the other stuff around it as well. I will wash your kit, but you've got to put it in the laundry basket. I'm not going around looking in your football bag. And if you don't set the alarm, guess what's going to happen? You won't be going to football.
Are you one of the many people, the growing number of people that are saying, bring back national service, bring back the boot camp?
I think that's an excellent idea. I really do think that's an excellent idea for all sorts of reasons, because number one, it will knock some of these kids back into shape, remold them where they need to be. There's an advert, isn't there? Something about born a boy, joined the Navy, became a man or something. And it's so true. I totally think we should. And not only that, but because of the way the globe is today, you'd have no idea whether we are going to have to call people up, because we've got a diminishing military, haven't we? And I think national service would be a great idea. I really do. And I'm not the only one that thinks it either. You have discussions with your friends, and a lot of people think that the children would benefit hugely from it.
Let's move to London. Why should we, with Sadiq Khan there? 1 in 50 of Londoners are sleeping on the street.
Right.
Now, we're not talking about the leafy lakes, but certainly in boroughs like Newham, say no more, Westminster, everybody thinks Westminster's posh. Well, it's posh and horrible at the same time. And Hackney, of course, has always suffered. And Sadiq Khan's more interested in poisoning the motorists and getting his ULEZ going, and other things going. How he got in there as Mayor of London only can be conjectures. All I can say is that things are arriving now, Trump style, because everybody knows what the last election was like in America, or we're becoming to realise it was a setup. Won't happen again, we hope. But Khan, in various places, suddenly there were lots of votes that didn't exist before. And a lot, dare one say, from Pakistani councillors that didn't exist anymore. Now, these are facts, folks.
They are facts. They are facts.
And don't forget, you've got the capital of the country now, unique in the world. There's only 37% of it, 1 in 3-ish, that are white indigenous people.
Are
you surprised at the state of our streets everywhere, but especially in the capital? Our granddaughter was robbed of her mobile phone this week, masked gangs, Rolex watches are disappearing.
Oh, yes, yeah.
10 to the dozen.
There's a gang, there are gangs, literally, there are Rolex watch knickers. Do you know what I mean? They are, and they track people, they hang around. I was watching a whole program on it the other night, and it's scary, but it's a business. It's very, very frightening. But, you know, if you're going to go around where there is poverty, where people haven't got money, and you're going to be very flashy, I always say to the children when I go into the schools, don't have your iPhone on show. Don't, because it's you know, put it somewhere. Don't walk it down the street with it in your hand. You know, it's so easy to knock it out your hand and nick it. But, you know, when you're looking about the homeless people sleeping on the streets, I can't remember whether it was 150,000 or 180,000, significant number of people in London that will be sleeping on the streets this Christmas. And yet the Bibby Stockholm, somebody sadly took their own life on that this week. And now, because it's just an unnatural way to live, everybody's being moved off it. Well, it's not a natural way to live to sleep on the streets, is it? Of people who actually have been born and brought up in this country.
Well, we want people, Marilyn, we want people to realise the truth. We do not get it through the press. Large parts of it are woke.
Yes.
And this is where a lot of it comes from. But if you look at who is on the streets, an immense proportion are alcoholics that do not want to go into sheltered accommodation because they will not be allowed to drink.
No, that's right.
There are mentally ill people that need special attention. It is a horrendous problem. Now, the churches, and there's a lot of black churches in London, are doing a fantastic job. And it's about people's time. People were blowing trumpets about the black churches in
London. They are amazing places, the black churches. They really are. And I also think the Salvation Army and the Church Army is as well. I think they are, you know, they're really good folks. But the black churches are incredibly warm, reaching out, outreaching, loving people. They're very good. But I mean, we shouldn't be in this state in the first place, though, should we? You see, I mean, it's so sad. But why? You see, everything goes back to the why, doesn't it? Why are people alcoholics? What happened to them in the early years that has distorted their, if you like, lack of resilience, their low esteem? What happened? It's not what's wrong with them, it's what has happened to them. And nobody wants to ask the questions because they might have to deal with the answer.
That's an interesting, again, statement you've made there. Psychology is moving on. Everything was self-esteem until a couple of years ago. It's most important, self-esteem. This is the answer for everything. Yeah. I've got to say proudly that I've always enraged about this. Realise who you are.
Exactly.
And if you want to term it in Christian terms, before you become a Christian, you've got to become humble and realise what state you're in compared with, if you like, God. Self-esteem for me means I'm better than anybody thinks, especially me.
No, that's arrogance. That's a very
exactly.
That's a very fine line between feeling good about yourself and having the inner resilience to overcome. So when I go into schools where there's been excluded children, I have a poster that says, life is going to give you some body blows. It's how you roll with it and come out the other end, not sitting there a wreck. You have to learn that resilience. You have to come through that. And self-esteem is believing in yourself, not pumping yourself up and boasting, look at me, look at me. That's narcissistic. That's arrogance. You know, I'm not arrogant, but I do know within me, I know I am resilient. And I didn't know many years ago, I didn't know that was the word for it. I used to say I was like a rubber ball. I used to say I bounced back quickly. So if I took a body blow sort of thing, a couple of days later, I was back in the zone again. And I just used to say, I think I'm a rubber ball. But that is what resilience is. It's like, and I do this with the kids in school. I don't like the word survive. I think surviving sucks. So you drop a ball on the floor and it very boom, boom, boom around the floor. Yeah, that's that. All right, you're existing. Surviving can be existing, but you're better off if you can thrive. And thriving, you bounce the ball and it goes right up here. That's thriving. That's resilience. That is turning your life around. And my lovely, lovely friend, Sister Olivia, she's a Catholic nun. She used to say, and it is so true. She used to say, I've got to say, to change is to grow. And to grow is to change frequently. Never sit still. Life is about change, and people don't want to embrace change. People are frightened of change. People are scared to, oh, if I step outside of this box, oh, what might happen? Well, something wonderful might happen. But if you're not...
Well, yeah, we get this all the time, and we say, well, what if? You'll never know. Give it a try.
Exactly.
Because if you say, oh, you know, you're going to fail, eventually that's where it leads to. But if you give it a trial, it may or it may not.
But you have to learn to take the failures. Now, my little granddaughter, she's 5 on Christmas Eve, right? And I was playing, I'm not being unkind. I did it with my children. I do it with my grandchildren. I do not let them win games. If you want to play a game that you think you can play, I'll play with you. But I'm not going to deliberately not play properly so that child can win, because I believe you've got to learn to lose. So she rightly beat me twice at this game. Yeah, right. I didn't give in. I went, well done, Rosie. Well done. That's amazing. And then she lost the third game to me. Oh my gosh, the sulk. And I said, look, I'm sorry, Rosie, you have to take both with the same joy. You've got to...
I'm intrigued. What game was this?
We played sevens card game, which she knew. You not remember it when you were a little boy? The four suits, and you do the whole run from the ace right up to the king, and you hand out the cards. You deal out 7 cards each, and then you've got a pile, and the first one that's got like 7 of diamonds, 7 of hearts goes. You put that card down and then you try. But the art of it is, if you've got, say, like the 10 of diamonds and nothing else above it, you want to hold on to it as long as you can to not let anybody else win, right? You hold on to those cards that might make somebody else overtake you. And she had learned all those skills, and she won the first 2 games. I have not played that game in 60 years.
There you go. We used to play something at college like that. It was called Black Lady.
Oh, yes. But she was like, oh, sulking, crying and all of that. And I said, honestly, Rosie, this is a lesson in life. You did 2 wins and it were brilliant. I didn't roll over and cry. I just thought the third time we played this, I have got to think a bit better about how I'm going to block you. But I said, if you're going to behave like this every time you lose, no one is going to want to play games with you. You can't behave like that. That's how it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And then her older sister said, I was like that, Rosie. I lost some running races. So what did I do? I trained myself more and ran faster in the playground. And Hannah did that on her own volition. She just decided, what I need to do is get better at it.
Well, there you are. The viewers are realising now how terrible you are. You should see the way she treats me. It's dreadful. I mean, no.
There is no mercy. There is no mercy for Rodney.
Yes, we're going to move on to smoking. From the sublime to the sublimer. And of course, we've had the lovely Jacinta banning it in New Zealand. And we now have Rishi, our very own, that wants to ban smoking. He doesn't stand a chance.
Of course he doesn't.
Maybe France have got the answer because, first of all, they put everything up, €13 a packet. That'll have some effect. And apart from that, if you're on a French beach or if you're in a French park, forget it. If the police see a plume of smoke, you're arrested.
Wow.
Good idea.
Well, it's nannying, isn't it? Can't people be responsible for their own lives? If you're going to smoke like a chimney, you end up with cancer. You've made that choice.
Yeah, but we all have to pay for it. The taxpayers, NHS.
Well, this is true. This is true. But, you know, what about the people, the smoke that comes out of these awful vapes? Does that count as well with France? I don't know, because they do have, you do see a smoke with the vapes that come out. I mean, I don't, I just think it's a disgusting habit anyway. I just,
yeah.
You know, if you were meant to smoke, God would have put a chimney in your head, wouldn't he?
Well, regarding vapes, there's a new, as we speak, proper investigation going on, like they did with cigarettes decades ago. And there's lots of nasties in there that are coming out.
Especially the ones that come in from China. They're not regulated.
No.
You know, they're not regulated and they've got all sorts of junk in them. And they're far more addictive than ordinary cigarettes. Highly addictive. So what is in it? There's still nicotine in it.
Yes, and other dangerous stuff as well. You've got to be careful with vapes. Don't get into that.
No,
the kids love it. It's a fashion again. From one part of the world to another, I was reading an interesting article about Coca-Cola in America. That's where it was designed years ago. And a particular guy was saying, oh, I got off the stuff because it was full of sugar and I felt better. And I've not been on Coca-Cola for years. And then I thought, oh, it's a hot day today. Let's try it again, because I do love the taste. It's unique. It is. And he tried it and it wasn't half as good as he remembered. Now, there's always this thing about it's never as good as when we were children.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was beyond that. He said it's changed. So he starts investigating. Boy, has it changed. About 20 years ago, it had a mega change when they stopped using proper sugar and they put this corn syrup and stuff in and various things. And it cheapened the drink, of course. Now, there's a lot of it going on. It's not just Coca-Cola. Do you remember Twix bars? Yeah, they still exist.
They're smaller than they were.
Absolutely. But they came in and it had this big, thick piece of chocolate on top of this deliciously
yummy
thick layer of caramel. And your teeth went into it. And it was gorgeous. Well, I'm sorry, they don't happen anymore. A, they're smaller, and B, it's a lot more biscuity. Why? Because it's cheaper. Well, you've got a situation of people saving money. Now, it goes beyond that. Think of your margarine or whatever healthy or unhealthy margarines are, and they're made of vegetable oils. One manufacturer has cut down its vegetable oils from 64% of the product to 39% overnight. How's he done that? Well, easy. Stick water and air in it, fluff it up a bit. But of course, the taste's not the same.
Yeah.
And you can tell that. Lots of other things are going on because they want to make as much profit as they always did. Ice cream's the favourite giveaway. Lots of manufacturers now being forced to call their ice cream, not ice cream, but frozen dairy dessert.
That's right.
And other things, because there's never been a cow near the ice cream, I suppose. So they'll have to get rid of the dairy on that one. Anyway, think about that, because we have a situation here where food and food and food are becoming less and less and less. Now, food is the mainstay of society, of families, of eating together. We would sooner these days, maybe, instead of paying a bit more for our good quality food, maintaining standards, we'd sooner spend it on Netflix, stay in, get a pizza brought round to us. And you know the goodness in pizzas, not a lot, than to actually spend money on natural food. And it's driven the manufacturers to say we have a choice. We either put our prices up substantially or we keep them relatively cheap, although whatever that is in the last 2 years, I don't know. But we have to cut down on natural ingredients. We have to put poison chemicals in instead.
That's like bread, isn't it? I mean, if you really want to eat proper bread that is wholesome, and soda bread particularly, you need to be paying £6 a loaf, and you need to be going to an artisan baker, because the stuff is like just coloured cotton wool that you get in the supermarkets, quite honestly. And this reduction in size is also true of pet biscuits. I got my dog another same old box in Tesco of our other brands, of course, of dog biscuits, and I swear they've shrunk by a third. They're smaller because you get used to them, giving them. I just, that is everywhere. But there was last week a doctor, a lady, I don't know if you saw it, she's 103, and she was asked what was the secret and of her health, and I will keep on going back to this. It's fresh food and water, and going still pumping strong, you know what I mean? But water is just so important, and I can't believe the number of people that don't drink. What's not to like? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, cold water, first thing in the morning, I drink 2 pints before I drink anything else. And, I'm really looking good for 110.
Well, apparently this doctor, GP, gave up GPing when she was 85. So that puts these wimps who at 55 decide to take their pension and scarper.
But, water, really important. Get the toxins out your kidneys.
Yes, and the other thing she suggested, I know, is to keep moving. Whatever you do, keep moving. Keep taking your fresh vegetables, and don't, although she didn't say this, but we've said it, I know, on a number of programs, don't neglect frozen vegetables, which usually are fresher than the fresh vegetables that have been on 2 or 3 days on the shelf. So frozen vegetables are okay, folks. Go for it. So something simple like that, everybody can remember. We're moving on. And, I don't know whether anybody's noticed this, but I have all the time. But we're in a position to do that. I mean, we have sent to Spain and Portugal, up in Catalonia as well, who like to think they're not Spanish. But there you go. So we got 3 studios. And we get different aspects of life, which is fascinating. Obviously, South European. But one of the things that we notice time and time again, because television is the same worldwide to an extent, is that people are now using Zoom more than they have done before, Meets and other Skype ways of communicating. If you want something that's hot off the press, then you go into people's living room and ask them questions. It's cheaper than getting them into studios.
Yeah, that's right.
So one thing I noticed, and I know GB News has been through trauma because of lack of money, but it's not just GB News, because if you're in a situation where Zoom is used or whatever, the number of times it goes down in Britain is about 1 in 4. Yeah. Oh, we've lost the picture. Oh, we've lost the sound.
Yeah, or you freeze. You freeze. And you get out of sync where your voice is going like this, but your mouth isn't moving.
People, it does not happen in Southern Europe. And we've said this before, worth repeating. In poor Portugal, and it is poor compared with many other countries.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
In the rest of Europe. They have their broadband because it's treated as a utility. 95% of people in Portugal get 100 megabytes to the house fibre. Now, in Britain, it's always going wrong because it's not fibre, because the king in control of this is BT. They are getting away with murder. And something should be done about it. Nothing ever is, because they're so powerful. They're more powerful than the government.
They are.
And
I mean,
it's
I call
not
it
the only firms that are more powerful than the government that reflect the government's moves. You've got to be very, very, dare I say, immigration is a prime example of this. Big business wants cheap labor.
Yeah.
They don't want immigration, legal immigration, never mind the illegal, to stop, because that's how they get 20% reduction on labor costs. It's killing the country culturally, economically, and we ain't got a government, we've not had for many years, that would stand up like Maggie would have done.
Well, I think Robert Jenrick was so right. And I mean, he spoke out very forcefully last weekend about when he walked away with this Rwanda deal and everything. And well, the money that is still being thrown at it for what is going to be microscopic number of people compared to those coming in. And he's rightly saying you can't, the number of people that have come in, you can't like swallow them up into your own society. And I can understand people that it's not racist, but you're losing your own identity. Why shouldn't we, we are white. Why shouldn't we want to stay like that? But I mean, it's not being racist, but do we all want to end up coffee coloured? I don't think so. I think, and when you go up north, I mean, my son who goes all around the country all the time, he said it's particularly bad up north. And you do get people that even in the villages up north that say we have just lost our heritage. And I can absolutely understand that. Why shouldn't we want to maintain and protect that any more than any other country? It's just
Marilyn is just woke. That's what it is.
But Robert Jenrick was right to raise the flag on it. He really was, and he did it quite strongly. I thought he was, and he's gone on about people being woke as well. I thought he spoke and wrote in the papers very, very well last week after he walked away. But no one's listening, are they? I mean, Sunak, I mean, they're just, oh dear, what a mess. I just wish, honestly, that they could just have an election and get it over with, rather than this, let's drag it out because we so love having the power. And that's what it's all about. Ego-driven power. Career politicians can't let go for the greater good of the country.
Rwanda will never happen. And if it does, it will never work. And nearly £300 million. If somebody had said at the beginning of this, let's open half a dozen reception centres in Kent, which would probably cost half that, and let's get rid of the illegal immigrants, welcome them. You've got a week to prove to us that you're a legal immigrant running away from oppression. And then this is what I mean, is that who is ruling the country? Which is what we all want to know. Well, I can reveal all. The establishment of civil service is running this country.
For sure.
And nobody has the guts to back them down. They are in control completely. And as we've mentioned the week before last, when a certain person, Sawela, resigned, they actually held parties in Whitehall, gloriously celebrating the fact that she'd gone. That is wickedness. These people.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, but who are these faceless people you don't see? Who are the establishment? Who are they? Are they MI5? Who are they? I remember clearly when Princess Diana died, I remember the Queen saying there are dark forces in this country.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, and there are. And the King will also know. I mean, who is the establishment? Who are they exactly? They're never named. We know, or do we? Do we see them? Are they like a private little cult?
Well, they're not a democracy. There's all sorts of theories here, but of course they hide themselves very well. But the facts are the country is not working, literally.
It's embarrassing.
Well, let's hope the ballot box does something next time. I have my doubts. cheerful. We'll go cheerful for a second. Do you know the latest figure tells us that the cost of bringing a child up from age 0 to age 18 in the UK has now increased to £223,256.
Yeah, that doesn't actually. I'm not surprised by that actually, because I can remember when I had my second child, my baby girl, and I can remember she never slept, and I can remember walking up and down her nursery room, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I remember thinking, why am I doing this? Why have I done this? How much has it cost me so far with her then 2.5-year-old brother? And you add all the stuff up, the clothes, the shoes, the nappies. I mean, the amount of money mothers now spend on disposable nappies, which take decades to break down in in infills, I mean, we used to have terry toweling nappies, horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, to boil those up every day, but it was, environmentally friendly compared to all these. You work out how much a pack of nappies is, and everything else. They grow through clothes like no tomorrow, don't they? When they're going through a growth spurt, and it does depend how recyclable friendly I think the parents are. I mean, I used to go, do you remember the old jumble sales years ago? I mean, I go into, for my own grandchildren, I go into charity shops and buy stuff on there because the kids haven't worn them, but most of them, for more than about a month, and they've grown out of them again. And hand-me-downs, I mean, my children lived off that, because you can't, if you've got 4 children, like, I used to go to markets as well and buy things. But no, some people have got to have Gap, or they've got to have this, that, and the other, but Mama and Baby, or what's the other one, Jojo, Baba Jojo, or something. They have to have these named, makes that cost a fortune. So it does go ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And then you go on the foreign holidays, and then you have to have you buy a buggy, it costs about £500, and so on and so forth. Car seats, all the equipment, it costs a fortune.
Well, something again is very much misrepresented in our country, and that's the Jewish population. It's been highlighted with the Palestinian marches, of course. And we've been put on high alert warning, not only us, many other countries in Europe. And in actual fact, Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands have, well, nipped it in the bud. There were serious Hamas incursions starting.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned those 3 countries, Germany, Denmark, and Netherlands. Sorry to keep using that wretched word woke, but they are woke countries. Doesn't affect other countries, like the Eastern European countries of Poland and Hungary, but they've got their act together. And there are certain countries that have said, no more. We are 3 countries in Europe have said, no more immigration from now. Now, how can they say it and Britain let it carry on, and we're not even in the EU?
Because I know, because, well, yeah, or are we? Absolutely. But they've got to spine these countries, haven't they? I mean, anybody over here that jumps up wanting to put a line in the sand, they get attacked by, oh, what are you doing? We are a kind nation. We take people in, this, that, and the other. And all these do-gooders that don't actually look further down the track. And then, oh, well, we'll throttle back then. Instead of saying, this is what we're doing, whether you like it or not, for the greater good of the country, and sticking with that, rather than this, what I call flip-flop. They don't know which way to go. So I'll go that way. No, I'll go that way. Blah, 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 blah. And no one actually has the guts and the spine to say, if you're a leader, you will make yourself unpopular at times, because that's what happens if you really want to lead. You can justify why you're doing stuff, but still do it and not be swayed. Once you've made your mind up that this is the best thing and you've looked at the pros and cons of it, then you have to stick with it and run with it.
Hamas have gone international, which is very strange. Usually this kind of group are very local, but they've gone international. Now, let's have a look at the other side of the coin, because lots of people are feeling sorry for the Palestinians. The innocent ones, quite rightly so. But the lot, and perhaps the majority, are not innocent. We've covered this on previous programs. Turn the other side of the coin. Let's think about the Jews going round and going into nations and killing people, or trying to. You think of the uproar, the outrage that would be against every Jew on this earth if they tried to do this. And yet it's a sort of mild, oh yes, we've caught them, that's a good thing, but nothing else. People, please realize what's going on here.
It's just dreadful. I mean, I feel so sorry for Jewish people. I really do. I mean, I know quite a lot, especially I lived in London for a while, and you've got all around pockets of areas. There's quite a few that live in Watford, and they're just peace-loving people. They don't cause any problems. I mean, I just don't understand it. This uprising of hatred, and it's scary, because if people buy into that mantra and that awful ideology, then it is scary. And I do feel extremely sorry for the Jewish people. I really do. I think it's outrageous. It's almost, you don't nip it in the bud, you could, a few years' time, have the Holocaust again, couldn't you?
Exactly. Right. Oh dear. War of the Sexes. Amanda Blank, Aviva, to mention 3 titles. Amanda appeared before a committee in Westminster, saying that she personally vets, as head of Aviva, every white male that comes for a job. She don't want them unless they fit her dynamic. This is racism, but she gets away with it.
It's discrimination.
It's amazing what these people are up to. Well, she's anti-misogyny. Well, every sensible person is,
of course.
And she wants to take a hard line. She has done before when she ran the Welsh Rugby Union. They got rid of her there, allegedly. But to say this in front of a Commons committee just shows you where we are. If somebody gets a bee in the bonnet, and there have been many bees with bees in bonnets, the lovely Nicola Sturgeon, the lovely Mark Drakesford have had bees in their bonnets, and they've all gone.
They've all gone.
They will go.
And I think
the head of Coots, NatWest, has gone. Well done, Nigel Farage.
Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot bring your personal feelings into heading up a company.
Of course you can't. Of course you can't. And the company has a set of rules and a statement that they make about what their company represents and what their mission statement is and all of that. And you can't go against that. You can't, because it's not about your opinion. But it's just outrageous. I mean, and that, as you say, I mean, can you imagine if she had said, I am going to really scrutinize black men that apply? I mean, that would be racist, but she is being discriminatory.
Exactly that.
And racist against white people. And people never think that. People really think that white people are caught up with racism against them and discrimination against them. But I don't understand what it is about white men. If she wants to stamp out misogyny, then it's all men, and you can't go down one avenue, surely.
Well, obviously not. Listen, we're coming to the end of the programme, and we've got 2 items that we've got to mention. One quite bizarre. They're both quite bizarre. One I'll mention, that it appears statistically there are now actively more predators than trans people in toilets and other open spaces in works. Now, what does that mean? Well, you're protected, of course. No, you're not. I've changed my sex. I'm really a woman. I'm going into that toilet. and of course, perpetrating, or something equally as distinguished. It turns out that there are more perpetrators now than trans people. Does that not say it all?
Well, I think that's true. I don't think there are as many trans people. It just makes headline news, doesn't it? But I don't think there are as many as people like to believe. And I don't believe that in every single class, in every single school, you got one or two that are. I think some of it, there will be, of course, people that feel that they're in the wrong body. But what a perfect example, what a perfect opportunity now to play the trans card. I am now a woman, and you're basically a rapist, or you're a groper, or you're a flasher, and in you go. I mean, because again, people are frightened of saying or taking that trans, and you have to do that. Women are entitled to safe spaces. You have violence against women, it's a growing problem. And women, and I rightly say the same thing, I want to go in a safe space when I am going to the loo. I went to GB News, must have been a year or so ago, and I just said, "Oh, where's the cloakroom, please, before I go on?" Through that door there. And I said, "Well, I've just seen a couple of men go in there." "Oh, yes, they're mixed toilets." I said, "What do you mean they're mixed toilets?" "Oh, they're just toilets. Anyone can go in there." And I went, "Wait, there's no ladies?" "No." Oh, I said, "That's it. I'm not." Because you don't know. You have got no idea who these guys are. No, I wouldn't use them. I'm absolutely not going to use them. And maybe
There
I'm
you go.
neurotic, maybe I'm paranoid, but maybe I do my job too much and too long now, but you see too much of it. And it goes on in schools as well. You have to have some rules about safe spaces.
You have to
for
have
women.
your own safe space, absolutely.
And whether people like it or not, tough.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah. Right. You're talking about getting over things. Let's go completely, as I said before, bizarre. We've got a clip to play to the viewers, and it comes with a warning. Now, when you watch the news and other programs, there are warnings if it's sexually explicit. If there's lots of flashing cameras, well, I've got to give a warning here before we play the clip. Viewers, this is a throw-up warning. I will guarantee if you of that inclination, I will guarantee you'll throw up about halfway through this. Have a watch. Well, there you are. That warning was worth giving, wasn't it? I mean, we've been talking about woke a lot today, but that's the wokest I've ever come across. I mean, they've got everybody on there that's woke. You've got every nation. That was, if you caught this, the Archwell Foundation in composition to William's video and Kate's video, clearly. And they're doing such a good work worldwide. You've got every nation there. I watched it the first time and I turned to somebody and said sarcastically, "Hey, they've not got a wheelchair there." "No, they have. I've seen it." "Really?" So I played it back again and the wheelchair's in there. It's sickening. I'm sorry. If you want definition of woke and everything that's going wrong, watch that. But take your sick bag with you.
And happy Christmas.
Well, yes, we must after that, we must say happy Christmas. We'll probably see you one more time before Christmas, but
yeah,
the world is not boring.
No.
There's one good thing coming out of this, but we've got to keep bleating and pointing the other sheeple in the right direction. And people do listen. And I firmly believe, honestly, that the majority of people are normal and think the way we do.
I absolutely agree with you. But then you have children. I had a friend's day last night who's like us, right? And her daughter is 35. And she says, oh, you can't say that, Mum. My daughter says the same thing. She's 41, 42 actually now. And she, oh, Mum, you know, you don't have a filter. I said, I'm sorry, I've earned my stripes and I've earned the right to have some views and thoughts. I'm happy to hear yours. Doesn't mean to say I'm going to agree, could disagree, happy to debate. I'm not being autocratic about it, but I have a right to say how I feel and my view on things. But the children of us are also that age range between 30 and sort of 35, are trying to block us down, the parents that brought them up. You can't say this, you can't say that. What is wrong with saying what I've just said?
Yeah, you've said something very incisive there, of course, and that is that, well, if you want to express your view, I'll listen. You will not get that from the radical left. They will spout on and shush you down.
They will. I've had it on business meetings. I had it in a business meeting when I was with a thing with the NHS the other day, and there was this woman who had been an immigrant at some point, and I just happened to be talking about allowances and you know, benefits that you get, and I just happened to say, you know, there's so many people who struggle to get rightful benefits. Meanwhile, other people coming into the country, oh, she was all over me like a rash. I said, I am not racist. I didn't even say the boat people. I didn't say anything. I just said people coming into the country. And it's a fact. I said to her, it is a fact that people, you know, who have been here, earned, paid taxes, are being sidelined for other people. And that's wrong. And that will build racism. But it's not about the people. It's the government that don't manage it properly.
Quite right. We're going before she gets shot. And we will agree to be short with her. Marilyn, see you next week.
See you next week. Have a good week. Bye-bye.